Welcome back to the deep dive. Are you ready for another journey into the past?
Always. Unearthing these hidden stories is what we live for.
Well, today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the life of Rebecca Hill. She was born around 1790 in Hilperton, which is a village in Wiltshire, England,
Okay.
and she lived until 1862. And I think what's so fascinating about this particular deep dive is that we're not talking about royalty, we're not talking about famous figures or anything like that. We're really getting into like the nitty-gritty everyday life of a person. I mean, she was just living her life.
Mm-hmm. The everyday person. Those are the stories that I find so compelling. It's
Yeah.
a chance to connect with the past in a
Yeah.
really tangible way.
For sure. And this story comes to us through a genealogical blog post.
Oh, interesting.
And the author of the blog post has really meticulously compiled information about Rebecca and her family, from church records and census data. And what makes it even more intriguing is that Rebecca is actually the third great-grandmother of the author of the blog post.
Wow. That's a direct link to the past.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. We used to think about your own ancestors, right? And all those stories that are kind of woven into your own history.
Exactly. It's like this long line connecting us all through time.
It is.
So going through this line, we go from Rebecca to her daughter Hannah Rich, then to Hannah's son Thomas Richmond, and then his daughter Alma Bessie Richmond, and then her son Frederick Walton Seaver, and then finally his son Randall J. Seaver.
Wow. It's amazing to think about all those generations, and how each one of those individuals had their own story to tell.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's talk about the sources, because this isn't just, anecdotal evidence. We're talking real records here. We have her baptism record. We have marriage bans, which were the public announcements of an intended marriage back then. We've got census records from 1841, 1851, and 1861.
Fantastic.
And her burial record. Almost all of this information is coming from the parish of Hilperton.
So we're getting a very focused view of her world, right?
Exactly. So let's jump in. We know Rebecca was born sometime before April 25th, 1790, in Hilperton, and her baptism took place on that very day at St. Michael's Church, also in Hilperton.
So we have a pretty good starting point then.
We do, but here's where things get interesting. The blog post actually mentions a baptism record for a Rebecca Hill, daughter of John and Anne Warren Hill, who were married in July of 1788. But the author points out that the parents of our Rebecca Hill are not definitively known.
So there's some mystery right off the bat.
There is, and it makes you wonder, was this just a coincidence? Were there two Rebecca Hills born around the same time in the same place? Or could this be a clue to her parentage?
Right. It's like a little puzzle. And sometimes those puzzles are never fully solved, which is part of the allure of genealogical research, I think.
I know, it's so true. And on top of that, based on the ages given in the census records, she's listed as 55 in 1841, 63 in 1851, and then 75 in 1861, and her age at death was 78. So based on all that, the estimated range for her birth year is actually between 1783 and 1789.
Oh, so that 1790 baptism record might not even be for her then.
Exactly. It could be for a different Rebecca Hill altogether, or maybe ages were just recorded differently back then.
Right. It's important to remember that those records weren't always perfect. People might not have known their exact birth date, or maybe they rounded their age up or down.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so moving on to a more concrete event. Rebecca married John Rich on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 1815, at Hilperton Parish Church. And the blog post mentions that their marriage was by banns.
By banns. Now, what exactly does that mean?
So basically, it was like a public announcement of their intention to marry. It was read aloud in their parish church for 3 Sundays leading up to the wedding.
Interesting.
And it wasn't just, a cute tradition or anything. It was actually a legal requirement.
Really?
Yeah. It gave anyone who might have had a legitimate objection to the marriage a chance to come forward. Maybe there was a previous commitment or a close family relationship that would have made the marriage invalid.
Oh, I see. So it was a way to ensure that everything was above board.
Exactly. And it gives us a little peek into those social and legal customs of the time.
Yeah, fascinating.
Okay. So here's another interesting detail. Both Rebecca and John signed the marriage register with their mark instead of a signature.
Oh, interesting. So they may not have been literate?
Right. And the witnesses were George Hill and Isaac Hiscock. So it just gives us this tiny window into what literacy levels might have been like within that community at that time.
Yeah. It's easy to forget that basic literacy was not a given for everyone back then.
Right. And this is the type of detail that we can glean from these historical
It's
records.
really valuable.
So Rebecca and John went on to have a big family. They had 11 children. There was James and John, then a second John because the first John sadly died in 1822 when he was just 4 years old. They also had William, who unfortunately also died very young in 1822.
Oh, that's heartbreaking to lose two children in the same year.
It really is. And it makes you think about those realities of life back then. Infant and child mortality rates were so much higher. It was a very different world.
Absolutely. Modern medicine has made such a difference.
It really has. But anyway, they had a second William, and then Jesse, Hannah, Emma, Elizabeth, and Samuel.
Wow. 11 children. That's a big family.
It is. And it's kind of striking to see two children named John and two children named William, with the first of each pair dying so young.
Yeah. It was common back then to reuse names, especially if a child died young. It was a way to honor their memory.
That's probably true. And then there's also another detail about their kids that I found really fascinating. Three of their children, Hannah, William, the second William, and Samuel, were all baptized together on February 19th, 1837.
Oh, okay. So Hannah was born in 1824, William in 1830, Samuel in 1833. So there was a pretty significant gap between their births and their baptisms.
Right. Exactly.
Why do you think that was?
Well, there could be a few different reasons. It could have been financial. Maybe there were fees associated with baptisms and the family just couldn't afford it right away. Or maybe it was due to religious practices or personal beliefs. Sometimes families would wait for a special occasion or a traveling minister to come through.
That makes sense.
Okay, so let's move on to the census records to get a glimpse into their life in Hilperton. The 1841 census shows the rich family living there. John's listed as a 47-year-old weaver.
Okay.
Rebecca's 55. And their children, James, who was 18, Elizabeth was 16, Hannah was 15, William was 10, and little Samuel was just 7.
So this is a snapshot of a working-class family in rural England in the mid-19th century.
Exactly. And John's occupation as a weaver kind of tells us a lot about their likely economic standing.
Yeah. And the fact that they had so many children still living at home, it suggests a close-knit family unit. Maybe everyone was contributing to the household in some way.
Yeah. Absolutely. And again, we see that discrepancy in Rebecca's age, which makes you wonder about the accuracy of those early records.
It does. But that's part of the challenge and the fun of historical research.
For sure. 10 years later, the 1851 census shows that the family's still in Hilperton. John is now 58 and still working as a handloom weaver. Rebecca is 63. William, the second William, is 21 and following in his father's footsteps as a weaver. And Samuel, who is 18, is listed as an India rubber worker.
An India rubber worker. Now that's interesting. That tells us a little something about the changing times, right? Even in a rural area like Hilperton.
Yeah. It's a hint of those emerging industries and how technology and new materials were creating different job opportunities.
It's amazing how these seemingly small details can reveal so much about the broader context of their lives.
It is. Okay, so fast forward another 10 years to the 1861 census, and John and Rebecca are still in Hilperton. John's 70 now and listed as a woolen cloth weaver.
Still weaving.
So we're going strong.
Yeah.
Rebecca is 75, and this time it's just the two of them listed in the household.
So it seems like their children have all moved out by this point.
Yeah, probably to start their own families and careers, which would have been pretty typical for that time period.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that John was still working at 70, it's a reminder that there wasn't really a concept of retirement back then for most people.
Right. People worked until they couldn't anymore.
Yeah. It was a different world.
It really was. Sadly, Rebecca's life came to an end sometime before March 7th, 1862, in Hilperton, and her burial took place on that day in the Hilperton Church graveyard. The record states that she was 78 years old, and that the burial was officiated by the rector, J.H. Tate.
So her life really came full circle in that same community where she was born and raised her family. It's a testament to the strong ties people had to their local communities back then.
It is, and it makes you think about how much has changed in the way we live our lives today.
The world is so much more interconnected now.
So to recap, we've traced Rebecca's life from her baptism in Hilperton around 1790, or maybe even a bit earlier, to her marriage to John Rich, who was a weaver, through the ups and downs of raising 11 children, and ultimately to her death and burial in 1862, all in the same small parish.
It's an incredible story.
Yeah.
And it's all thanks to those meticulously kept historical records.
Exactly. And what's so cool is that even though we've uncovered so much about Rebecca's life, there's still these lingering questions and areas for further exploration.
Right, like the mysteries surrounding her parents. Maybe with some more digging, someone could find more information about her early life.
Yeah. And the changes in her family over the decades, her children's occupations, the shifting makeup of their household, it all offers a glimpse into the social and economic realities of 19th century England.
It's a reminder that even the lives of ordinary people can teach us so much about the past.
They really can. And the fact that John outlived Rebecca, I mean, that opens up a whole new chapter in their family's story.
Hmm.
What was his life like after she was gone? Did any of their children come back to take care of him?
Right. Makes you wonder.
It does. And it's those kinds of questions that keep us coming back to these historical records, trying to piece together those untold stories and connect the dots between generations.
It's like a treasure hunt.
It really is. And I think it's important to remember that every life, even a seemingly ordinary one like Rebecca's, contributes to the tapestry of history. And who knows, maybe there are similar stories waiting to be discovered in your own family history.
I bet there are.
Oh.
And that's what makes this so exciting.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that history isn't just about kings and queens and battles. It's about the lives of everyday people like you and me and Rebecca Hill. And by exploring those lives, we can gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for taking us on this journey.
Thanks for joining me.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.